Alright, welcome back to another web development video where I show you how to create modern websites using HTML5, CSS3, and a little bit of JavaScript. I'm actually going to take a little bit of a detour from tutorials or showing you code, and I'm just going to do a quick critique just to show sort of how I would go through and critique a website that's already standing, either for a redesign or just because people want to know, how's our website looking or what can we change, that sort of thing. So I chose this website. This is a restaurant just down the street from where I work, and I've never been to the restaurant. I've never been to the website. I wanted to choose something that to me needs some help, but also somewhere I don't have a bias toward. So I've never been here. I've driven by it a lot, but I've never actually been inside. I didn't even know that they were a deli. I thought it was just a full-scale restaurant. So it's called Augustino's, and it's a deli and a restaurant, a grill. And this is their website. This is the home page. You can see there's some strange something going on down there. And overall, the website is pretty dated. I looked up the company that made it, and they tend to make dated websites if they're still in existence. I don't know if they are or not. I am not contacted by this restaurant to make a new website, so that is not my plan necessarily, although I'd like to take this and then sort of redesign, consider a concept or redesign series based on this particular website, because they have a lot of really great content, and the restaurant itself has been around for 40 years, so they're doing something right in the community. The community likes what they're doing and the food that they're producing, and there's also some really cool kinds of things that they're doing with classic cars and rock and roll and sort of that theme restaurant type vibe. So we'll get into that just a little bit, but my criteria are basically, I'm going to look at design, and then I'm going to look at functionality. So how does the website actually function when I click and try to do things? And then I'll also look at the mobile. So right now we're looking at the desktop view, and it does try to be mobile responsive, but I'll get into some of the issues that happen when you do that with this website. Alright, so just looking at the design, right offhand, there's some things that I see where it just doesn't look very modern. So this is the site menu over here. Took me a minute to figure that out. But when you go to a new site, it does load relatively quickly. But you can see that sort of the design style is, I don't know, maybe 10 years old. It's just sort of old. It's not fresh and sort of a new. It's nice to have this big header here, but there's some different elements on here that are like this look and feel right here is a little bit not modern, like modern as in the last 3 to 5 years. There's some strange gaps that we sort of get all over the place, so there's not much of an equal gap here, so you sort of wind up with some strange gaps where there's a big gap here and there's not much gap here, and then really not much gap here, and strange gaps here. At the bottom of the website, there's all this space. I don't know what that is. So it's just sort of some strange gaps all over the place. Sometimes the type is a little bit difficult to see, and I'm thinking like down here, you can see it, but that, dark on the dark red, the black on the red, that's not the easiest thing to see. You get some strange sort of gaps here as well. This is just not when you're not trying to do that on purpose, which I don't think they are. It's sort of a strange look. Let's see the locations here. This sort of layout is really nice and fine. You get some weird sort of things going on here where there's overlap, where this is overlapping. So this is I suppose this is on the weekends, but you can't read it because it's overlapping the text there, so I don't know when they're open on the weekends. So that's a little bit of a strange sort of thing. Same things happen here, where you're just sort of getting, if you highlight the text, you get the text. If you highlight, you know, this part, then you can kind of see 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So it's just not the clearest sort of presentation of the information. There's an old logo. So this is, I suppose, a new logo. But if you go to, I should have marked where it was. I think it's on this one. Yeah, you see this logo here? I really like that. I like that actually a lot better than this. This is a little newer and cleaner. But there's something sort of, I really like this feature, Inner Rockstar. I think that's a cool tagline that you could really use to shape the entire site. And Rock and Roll Deli and Grill. I suppose this is the old one because it just says Rock and Roll Deli. So maybe they wanted to highlight that it's a restaurant too. So, you know, I don't know. It's kind of, it feels like the Ramones or sort of Brit rock or rock from the 50s or 60s. So that feels a little bit more true, I guess, than whatever is happening up here. This font looks not right. This can't be seen very well. Good food fast. And to me, when I listen to the restaurant voice, that's not really it. So I really like this logo down here. One thing that I think is really awesome is they have these cruise nights. And if you're not from America, you know, cruising, or you're not from a small town really, cruising is when you get in your car and you sort of drive up and down Main Street and you're talking to each other, you know, through the cars at the red lights, and you're stopping in parking lots to just sort of hang out and talk to each other. It's what people used to do a long time ago when they drove cars that look like this, and it's what a lot of people in small towns would do. So they actually have these cruise nights at their 2 locations, and you can sort of bring your classic cars and show them off, and then I suppose they're actually doing a cruise where they go up and down Main Street, but I'm not sure because they don't give me enough. They don't give me enough information. And when I go to the schedule is from 2017, so that's not very helpful to me anymore. But they give you the coolest car award, and then it just sort of becomes this. To me, it becomes this Instagram, Facebook, Twitter moment, and that would happen every night. Plus all the people who come to eat your food. So to me, there's a huge potential in this particular thing, especially if you're rolling out, these sort of vintage cars, and people are going to come just to check them out, and it just becomes a whole event where people move from there to eating your food. One of the hardest things to do is separate yourself. So they have this What Makes Augie Special tucked away kind of far into the site menu. It's the very last one, and most people are going to be moving top to bottom for the things that they want. But this is actually, you want to put your values front and center. What is different? Why should I go here instead of going to Subway, which is a chain restaurant, or Jimmy John's? So having this sort of thing where we're using fresh baked bread, and we're choosing meat, we're cutting it, slicing it inside the restaurant itself. Like, these are really important things to be able to put front and center about what makes your company really special. And then I think just the ability, there's so much family atmosphere here. And then if you're looking inside, and there are things on the walls as you look through. I don't know if you can see anything. This is the outside, this is the front door, so it's got this kind of cool jukebox sort of feel. You can see here that they kind of hint at the Instagram or social media type of thing, but you can see inside there's a ton of memorabilia. They have signed guitars that they talk about. You can see things on the wall here, and just Kind of has a really cool diner deli feel. Maybe you can come sit by these guys and take a picture. This is a poster for a concert, looks like. So there's lots of cool memorabilia in there, and looks like an opportunity to really showcase what's inside. Like this is a destination for you to come when you come to Chicago. Come hit this place, and it's like an authentic theme restaurant as opposed to Planet Hollywood, which is a little bit more huge production Hollywood sort of stuff, where it's an experience in itself, but it's not like a local experience. So that, and then there's sometimes some confusing design choices. Um, like here, you have this picture of Marilyn Monroe next to the close up of the hoagie sandwich. It just feels weird and a little disjointed, and you see that, a few times throughout. There's some spacing issues here, and it's just, a little bit more white space, a little bit more modern sort of aesthetic would be really helpful. Okay, so let's move on to the functionality. The first thing that I want to point out is there's no actual way to get to the home page from here. So there's nothing in the footer, there's nothing in the header. You can't click this and go home. You have to actually go to the site menu, click it to go to the home page. So that's a little bit, that's a strike against. Also, the main menu is here, and it's big and large, but it doesn't particularly stand out. There's lots of different things that are going on here. There's flashing stuff here, and there's this order online, which stands out more than the site menu. This actually stands out more than the site menu, and the site menu comes in from over here. It would be great to have the menu, at least some of the main things that people are going to want to come and see quickly, to have that showing somewhere, because when you hide something, the chances are that people aren't going to see it. So that becomes the problem of hiding things. Even if you're hiding them on a mobile, people are they appreciate, things not being all over the place on the mobile phone, but on a desktop computer, normally people, they have more space, so you can give them more options. I really like the clickable phone numbers, so you can actually click on those, and if you're on a phone, it'll pull up and ask you, do you want to use your phone's application to make a call. So that, I like that. The order online does not work. So when I choose which location, then I go to this page here, and it just gives me network issues, no matter how many times I try. And eventually it says, sorry, I give up. And so it doesn't, ordering online doesn't work. And that is a problem, because that's so front and center and something that people probably want to do. So that's a big functionality issue. The locations drop down. There's a little drop down here that happens, and you get a sort of a strange overlapping. This is just a z-index problem, so this needs to be over top of everything. When you try to go to the menus, which is going to be a huge part of any restaurant website, you get this pop-up. Okay, so this is not a good situation, which tells me that this menu is not created well by a web developer. All the rest of the sites are going to top level pages, but this is supposed to be something that triggers a drop down. And then when you click on these, it takes you to the menu, which the menus look nice, but they are PDF menus. That could be better as well. You can actually have nice looking menus that are designed on the web, and those menus are getting, the problem with PDF menus is that they're not being indexed by Google. So Google is not associating your restaurant with the food that you prepare. Now, I did a restaurant website back in like 2010, and that was sort of, it was new to be able to do a menu like that online, and that was not something that was very common. People were using this PDF type of solution because that's what they had probably someone designed their menus that they use in the restaurant, and then they just sort of put those online. So it was a good solution back then, but it's not a good solution for mobile phones, um, tablets, that sort of thing. Plus, if they get too big or too heavy, then they sort of get hard to download. They're really hard to deal with on a phone. So just something to think about. When we go to the locations page, there's a Google Maps issue here, and it tells me that it can't load Google Maps properly. If you click OK a couple of times, then you can sort of see it. But you can see that there's some issues here. Whatever the code is that they're using, you can see it down here. Some sort of JavaScript pop-up. I don't know what that is. Using PHP, you don't have to work that hard anymore to add Google Maps to your website. So that is sort of a big piece. You know, you can obviously copy this and put it into Google Maps, but just being able to see the map, get the directions, that sort of thing, and be able to click on it, especially on a mobile phone, is a lot easier. When we go to Ask Jerry, so these are, getting feedback and questions, and if you have any questions about the restaurant or what's going on, you can use this form to ask the questions. But you can see that the form is very tiny, so my guess would be that they're using something like Google Forms for this, but someone hasn't gone in and made sure that this takes up the full width, or takes up a full width and height, so that you don't have to scroll. It's not that big of a form. So that's one of those little small functionality things. May not be a big deal. It's still probably functional, but there's a better way to do it. I had showed you before, but the cruise nights PDF, when you click here for the schedule, that's not updated. And so that's most of it for the functionality part. You can see here some more design issues. So you have this a lot of padding over here, and then you have, this doesn't line up. There's just a lot of things that are just sort of not as tight as they could be design wise. And then let's look at the mobile responsive. So let's just head back to the home page so we can see it from there. Now there are some things going on. So these things go to the top, but they are covering up, they're covering up the logo. They look like Mickey Mouse ears on the logo. And the menu works fine. That's sort of out of the box mobile responsive, which is okay. This gets a little bit small for me, and you can see that there's these huge gaps. So this goes all the way across, which is nice, but I can already tell there's some problems because we're getting a lot of space out to the right. And for the most part, this text gets responsive. It's center align, which is not my favorite sort of design, but two things are making this page go out wide, and one is this large container here, which is obviously not responsive. It's the same size on mobile as it is on desktop. And then this consistently, this footer is like 125% of the width of the device, which is strange to me. But when you set it to 100, it goes and lines up with this edge here. But this on the home page is gonna force this sort of non-responsive moving around the page all the time. And the icons layering in the header, this could be done better. It could be laid out better. You lose this text here pretty quickly against the red, and the header is not, it is responsive, but it's not a well done responsive sort of design. And sometimes the images are not resizing very well. The one I saw was on the cruise nights. There's some stretching. You can see here in the Ferrari. That Ferrari is being stretched a little bit to the left and the right. So I don't know if that is a vertical image. I can't remember. Yeah. So that's a more square image that when you come down to this size here, it's being squished. Normally it would be up here. So just little things like that that I noticed. And then you can see that it's not so bad on this page, but let's say we go to about. You can see that the text is actually, there's a container in here that's keeping the text resized. So you can see that it's resizing the text, but it's not resizing the text container. So this whole container should be pulled over and aligned here. So it is responsive in that way. You see some issues here with overlapping. That shouldn't be happening. Those should be up in here and shouldn't be overlapping this line. So there's some layout code issues that are going on here. These are probably absolutely positioned to the right, something like that, and they're creating space with margins. I don't know, maybe that's what's going on. But it's not a very modern, they're not using modern layout code, I can tell. Alright, so that's my critique of Augustino's Rock and Roll Deli and Grill. I'm sure the food is amazing. I've never been there. It's a sub place, so you're forever in the western suburbs of Chicago. You should check them out and see if it's as good as it seems. I think this is Mr. Augustino. And so, seems like good Italian sub sandwiches. But I just wanted to show you sort of the way that I would go through and critique and sort of try to figure out where the issue's happening in a particular website. And then I think in subsequent videos I'm going to actually try to begin building out some sort of a design, like a new design, maybe go in a couple different directions and walk through those with you or show them, I'm not sure. But just show you how would I take this and sort of, to my critique, fix some of those issues. I would look at some other places. So this is obviously a themed restaurant. They have, it's both a family business and also, you know, it's like a themed deli. So they have this very outspoken design language that is 50s, 60s rock and roll. And so everything sort of centers around that rock and roll idea with the records and the guitars and the old cars and stuff like that. So it really is a theme restaurant that sells, you know, deli sandwiches and now, you know, hot food. So they've sort of morphed into more of a restaurant. And we have theme restaurants, and one is like Planet Hollywood. So this is the New York Planet Hollywood, but you can see one, the design is more modern. They're using these large headers to sort of show you what's inside. You don't get a lot of that with the Augustino's restaurant. Very clear what the menu for this particular restaurant is. So you can click on, you know, places, and you're going to the top level menus, but even inside there you're getting these sub menus that make it really easy to see what the menu is. This is hidden behind JavaScript, so I can't do much with it, but theoretically this is all being indexed by Google, because if this is built with HTML, they should be able to read the text on the page. But again, this is not a great way to do this necessarily, but it's better than hiding everything either behind a PDF or behind a menu. And then they have sort of an about section it makes certain things clear, so you can come and you can do these different get to these different sections of the page just by scrolling. You don't have to go to any of these drop down menus or anything like that. So this is one example of theme restaurants, but mostly I like that they're showing inside the restaurant. What does it look like? What is it going to feel like whenever I get there? It feels like a Hollywood set, right? And then this is a restaurant called the Safe House, and it's sort of a boy, I don't know how to explain it, but it's you become a spy. So you go inside of it. This is in Chicago as well, but you can do group parties, and you can do just like a night out. They have these different dancing night out kind of things. They have lots of places for you to take photos, and they do events and special things, and they sort of go all in terms of their design. They go all in as far as typography, the way that they talk. It's a spy themed bar and restaurant. And so, outside you have this, don't tell anybody about this place behind the red door. They have a secret password that you can use, but they're also clearly showing you what's inside. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does our food look like? So you can get to those normal things, but they also have, special events. They tell you about the late night dancing. This is sort of a cool thing. If you come in the daytime, this is what you're going to get. If you come at night, you're going to get something different. We sort of transform. And then they just sort of stick with this spy theme all the time. Fully connected to things like Yelp and also Instagram. Like, this is a really cool way, and then they say tag us and we'll repost you. So if you tag them Safe House Chicago, then they'll repost your images. So they're connecting using that social media to push the special idea of going to this place. So they have this sort of photo booth, and they have all these kind of cool elements inside the restaurant, but they're also making it easily shareable, which is a really cool part. And then also the fact that they're just sort of going all in on the typography and the look and the feel of, this is a spy game, or this is very low level sort of spy stuff. So there's a reason they chose this font. This feels like mafioso or something like that. So they're sort of getting the look and the feel of spy. I don't know, spy theme, I guess. So that would be something to look at too. So very similar to this in terms of sort of a modern layout where you have, it's very clearly marked up here. What are some of the top level things? You can reserve a table. And these people have very similar types of pages that they want you to go to, things that they want you to see. But you can see that it's just done in a very different way, a very sort of dated kind of way. So that's more of kind of inspirations that I would sort of move this Augustino's Deli and Grill toward, just because it's modern. It's showing a different part to a modern visitor to this restaurant. All right. If you have any questions or a critique of my critique, you can leave them down in the comment section below. If there are things that you think I missed, I'm happy to hear them. Or if there are things that I didn't critique that maybe you might critique, then great to hear that too. Please don't dog on anybody. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to point out some of the things that aren't functioning well. Trying to point out some of the design things that are going on. Some of the design choices are because I think this is an old website, so they're not using modern code. You know, a lot of things have changed layout wise in the last 3 to 5 years. So maybe they're just not using that because the site is older than that. So please be kind. Don't dog people in the comments. And hopefully this is a sort of an outline that you can use to then look at your own designs, or to look at people who come in and they say, you know, can you redesign my website? I don't know really how to make it better, but this is what we have. And then to sort of give them a rundown of, you know, these things are not right, this doesn't look right or feel right, or this can be more modern, or this is the way we used to do it, but this is how we do it now. It's okay to be that for your clients, and it's okay to be that for yourself. So if you have those questions, leave them down in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe. We're almost to 5,000 subscribers, so that's really that would be a big plateau for us, a big place to reach. And be sure to check out my other videos. I have, you know, somewhere around 200 videos on the website now, and covering anything from CSS Grid to Webflow to all types of different things. If you have any suggestions, you can leave them in the comments too about what you might want to see next, if it's related to critique or if it's related to anything in web design or web development. If there's something that I can help you by showing you, I'll do it. Otherwise, just clicking the thumbs up helps a lot, or sharing it on social media. Alright, well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.